Well, Tennessee comes up short against Notre Dame in game one of Super Regional play from Lindsey Nelson Stadium here on a Friday night, and it's do or die time beginning tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Ben McKee at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. I'm Harry Kane here on Around the Horn, Volquest.com. Ben, a lot of home runs. In fact, every single run scored for Notre Dame in this baseball game came via the long ball. They homered in 4 straight innings to begin the contest. Tennessee, an early 8-1 deficit, did battle back, but obviously Blake Tidwell knocked around a little bit with that offense that came out surging for the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, just the ugly night of baseball. Tennessee's worst night of the season, in my opinion, and could not be at a worse time to have the worst night of the season. It was just ugly baseball. The defense wasn't the ugliest part, but the defense was not crisp the way you need it to be. Hitting did not do well situationally early in the game. Something that we've been harping on, you and I, when talking about this team, is that they haven't been all that great situationally hitting, and that was the case early and often. Yeah, Notre Dame's throwing up some home runs and crooked numbers early and often, but Tennessee had plenty of chances. First inning, second inning, third inning. Going down the line, there were runners on base, and I think they finished 1 for 16 with runners on base. Don't quote me on that, but I think that is correct. My point being that they weren't good with runners on base. And then the pitching at the beginning of the game was certainly not what it was. And Notre Dame wasn't what I thought it was in the sense of they hit the third fewest home runs in ACC play this season. Blake Tidwell's given up 3 home runs all season, and he gives up 3 in the first 3 innings. And then, as you mentioned, Notre Dame hit a 4th home run in the 4th inning off of Will Mabry, which in hindsight is different in the game when Tennessee loses by 2, and did have a couple of different things go against you. Jordan Beck, right behind me, nearly had a 3-run home run, which also would have had the game tied at the end of the night if that does go out. Seth Stevenson, Drew Gilbert, before he gets ejected, has a runner on third, lines out right at the left fielder, hit it hard, just right at the guy. Just bad luck, bad baseball, just a bad night at Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
Well, you mentioned it there, and, we shouldn't bury the lead much more after this. Drew Gilbert gets tossed in the bottom of the 5th inning, got a little hairy. Frank Anderson gets ejected as well. What that means is Drew Gilbert will not be available for Saturday's game. Ben, anything Tony Vitello said post-game on that? Who could be the replacement in center or in the outfield? I know Jared Dickey came on, played left field there after that. Who could be hitting cleanup tomorrow? And, of course, Frank Anderson will be gone throughout the rest of the series and game 1 in Omaha if Tennessee were to advance. A weird situation, but one where you and I will expand on later tonight. But it feels like anytime you kind of toe that line, there's the opportunity to get run, and Gilbert got run in that instance.
A lot to cover in this situation as you just peppered me with a bunch of different questions. So I'll do my best to keep it short and simple with all of them. The pitch in which Drew Gilbert was upset with was a terrible call. At the ankles, it was a ball. Should have been a 2-0 count instead of a 1-1 count. But Drew Gilbert can't turn around and F-bomb the umpire twice. Turn around and look at the umpire right in the face. You drop 2 F-bombs. Regardless of if it was a good call or a bad call, you're going to get ejected, whether it's in the World Series, Omaha, Super Regionals, first game of the season, 10th game of the season. You're going to get ejected. Any player on any team anywhere is going to get ejected if you turn around and you drop 2 F-bombs to the umpire, whether it was a ball or strike, whether it was the right call or not. So I do think that Drew Gilbert needs to show a little more restraint in that situation. I understand the frustration. The umpire, I did not think had a good night whatsoever back there. I thought several calls went against Tennessee that changed the outcome of some at-bats, but that's a separate conversation. So I do think that the ejection was warranted. I'm sure there are Tennessee fans who are not going to like hearing that, but quite simply, you can't drop 2 F-bombs when you turn around and face-to-face the umpire. You're just not going to stay in the game after that, and we'll see what Tennessee does moving forward. Seth Stevenson, I think, will play center field and will continue to lead off. I think the more intriguing question is, what do you do with the 4-hole? That is very intriguing. I would almost think that you just kind of slide everybody up. Trey Lipscomb goes up into the 4th hole, and Jarrell Ortega, I think, is a picture-perfect 5-hole hitter. Theoretically, runners on base, and he's one of your better hitters. The 5-hole hitter is typically one of your more trustworthy hitters, and that's what Jarrell Ortega is. You slide Evan Russell up to the 6-hole, and so on and so forth. Jared Dickey slides in somewhere in there. Maybe you have Jared Dickey lead off if he plays left field tomorrow, and then Seth Stevenson can hit ninth or eighth ahead of Cortland Lawson. So if I had to guess, I think they would just slide everybody up in the lineup, and then Seth Stevenson would play center field. And the Frank Anderson situation is just unfortunate. He was ejected not because he was arguing, but because he began to run out onto the field. And he was began to run out onto the field because he was trying to calm Drew Gilbert down and prevent that from spiraling out of control. And the umpire saw him charging out of the dugout, and he got ejected. And because it's his second ejection of the season, he's going to be suspended 3 games on top of having to miss this game. So as you mentioned, Eric, he'll miss Saturday, tomorrow. If Tennessee can win that game, he'll miss Sunday. If Tennessee can pull off what feels like a miracle right now and make it to Omaha, he would miss game 1 in Omaha. So just a really unfortunate situation that was just very fitting for the night here at Lindsey Nelson.
Well, Tennessee does battle back. You had a huge 2-run double there in the bottom of the 7th inning to bring you within 3. Jordan Beck homered to the top or the bottom of the 9th to bring you within 2, but Tennessee does fall 8-6. Last thing, Ben, Tony Vitello post game. What's his message to the team kind of heading into tomorrow? Again, do or die. They've never been in this situation, obviously, so far this season. Haven't even been in many, 1-1 series heading into Sunday. What do you think the mood, the vibe of this team is right now?
Well, first, I'm going to go back and touch on Blake Tidwell. I know I'm doing it far later in this than you asked me about it, but I didn't really answer your question about Blake Tidwell earlier. And Tony Vitello thought that he pitched pretty well and made a good amount of pitches. He just didn't make enough good pitches with 2 strikes. That's what hurt him. He was throwing strikes. He was getting ahead in counts, and he was leaving pitches over the middle of the plate with 2 strikes. Left the fastball right down the middle, left the breaking ball up, and that was the first home run of the game. Just was not good with 2 strikes. Just didn't have his best day at the office, and that happens in baseball. But unfortunately for Tennessee, it comes at a pretty bad time. So they'll hand it over to Chase Dollander tomorrow. You have to imagine there's a lot of confidence in that. He's the SEC Pitcher of the Year, and they're going to have him lead the way, lead Tennessee to a victory. Now, the flip side of this, and I'm not going to say it feels like doomsday. Tennessee can certainly pull this off. They can win the next 2 days. But it is going to be a challenge. Notre Dame is throwing John Michael Bertrand, the lefty, who's been an all-ACC first-team pitcher the last 2 years. 9-2, I think, with a 2.29 ERA, something along those lines. A lefty, not a lot of walks, a lot of strikeouts, I believe over 100. He's really good. He's a team captain. So Tennessee's season is on the line, and while you feel good about having Chase Dollander on the mound, you now have to face one of the better pitchers in the country, quite frankly, who's left in this tournament, without Drew Gilbert, the heart and soul of your offense. So I thought Tony's message after the game was pretty simple. Play better baseball. Tennessee didn't play good baseball tonight. Notre Dame's coach, Link Jarrett, said that. He was very pleased with how his team performed, as he should be, but he also mentioned that, hey, they didn't play very good baseball. And we were able to benefit from that. And Notre Dame, you tip your hat to them. They kept their composure in what was an awesome environment here. And Tennessee's going to have to find a way to keep their composure better tomorrow. Be better situationally at the plate when it comes to hitting with runners on base and runners in scoring position. And if Chase Dollander does his thing, and I said this to you, just a super simplistic take on the weekend, if Blake Tidwell and Chase Dollander are Blake Tidwell and Chase Dollander, Tennessee will be fine. Wasn't the case tonight with Blake Tidwell, but if Chase Dollander can be Chase Dollander, have to imagine that Tennessee's offense it's going to come around at some point on John Michael Bertrand, even though he is their ace.
8 runs off 13 hits, no errors for Notre Dame, 6 runs off 7 hits, and 2 errors for the University of Tennessee in this loss in game 1 of the Super Regional. Link Jarrett, Notre Dame's head coach, post-game said defense, among a couple of things, was the difference, but defense started things off for him. This team played very good defense. All right, Tennessee tomorrow, game 2, you win, you force a game 3, you lose, and this incredible season gets cut short. So plenty of coverage recapping tonight's leading up into tomorrow for a 2 o'clock Eastern first pitch time with Chase Dollander taking on Notre Dame. For Ben McKee, I'm Eric Kane. This has been Around the Horn, Volquest.com.